What would you like the power to do? Bank of America.
A warm welcome.
So the first thing we want to do is tell us about your company, because some people might have seen the press. I read about it. Kurt Nagel had a story in Cranes in October, but I think it really became public in December through the city. And shout out to the mayor and DRP and DEGC and all the companies that helped get you here, but you made this decision. Why?
Well, Echelon is a science and tech company, and at our core we do a lot of research and development about artificial general intelligence, things that can make decisions and have inferences. So, you know, we're a different kind of company from that perspective, and that's why I wanted Detroit to be home. It was a different kind of city, and it's a place where the community, the people, government, and industry can come together, and academia can come together to create something special. And this is at the precipice of something that's going to be very great. And I think my employees make sure I get paid to make the best decisions possible for this company. And it was a no-brainer to make Detroit home. It wasn't us choosing Detroit, it was Detroit choosing us. We're fortunate to be here from what I can see and the people that I have encountered and what I've experienced as an industry enabler from what the city and what the state has done and what the big plans are. And so we want to play our pivotal role in enabling that.
This is exciting because we talk about the tech that goes on in this region. We all know the traditional companies. This one here that we're sitting in their headquarters has unbelievable tech. That's what vehicles are these days. But to have a technology company like you come here it's big for us, because we're trying to build that innovation ecosystem. And there's kind of two big drivers you were telling me about. It's that innovation ecosystem and it's the people. So let's talk about innovation. And we were just talking, you just had an announcement through the Department of Defense with one of your platforms, Links. Describe that so people get a feel for what you all do.
Yeah, so think of Echelon as what would have been a mini Bell Labs many years ago. We research and study some of the most hardest and some of the most difficult problems. Like, we like to solve and create novel technology at our core. So we research beyond any particular industry. We're very industry agnostic, and I'll give you some examples. The announcement today is about our machine learning cybersecurity capability that is really, truly unique. It's a dual-use program called Links, and the Department of War now has standardized its entire...
Sorry, Department of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It did say DOD still on the website, I saw that.
Yeah, it's a little interchange right now, but the technical vernacular is Department of War, and they standardize our machine learning algorithm capability, this new system for the industrial base. So it's massive, and it's proud to say this is made in Detroit, Detroit's home, and the federal government is standardizing on Detroit technology. And so I think that's great, but we're not just subject to any one technology. We run about 29 to 30 projects in the company at any given time, and we've researched neurotoxins and chronic pain, for example. And we were one of the first companies to cross the blood-brain barrier and show that it was possible with the Department of Army and NYU as our collaborators. So we're out to solve hard problems, and that will lead to curing autoimmune diseases in the near future. And so that also will be headquartered here in Detroit at the Icon, all the way across to us working on novel materials, material science, and what the next generation of an economy will look like. We're not necessarily a standard machine learning AI company. We're looking at the 22nd century and looking at what the next industries will be and really driving that.
And I think a lot of growth economies, whether it's the Valley or Austin or Boston, they did that right. They looked at what was next and they invested in that. And you've heard a lot of talk about that today, about what Michigan needs to do and Detroit needs to do. So having a company like you, that's music to our ears. So let's segue to people. But before we do that, let's learn a little bit more about you. I know a little bit more about you. Grew up on a farm, but talk about your background a little bit and whose administration you worked in.
Yeah, humble beginnings. I grew up, and the old saying, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's how I grew up. So I grew up on a farm with my grandfather, and literally we ate what we worked for in the fields, and I vowed to never go back to that life again. And that's how the technology part of me was born. And I transformed that into, being the first guy in the office, last guy to leave. My grandfather woke me up every morning at 4:30 in the morning to work before I went to school. And so I carried that in, and I worked I built a tech company before that was very successful. We went from 7 employees to 1,350 in 7 years. And we were the home. We were not a household brand, but a lot of people knew us. We were the creators of text messaging, and we did first turn-by-turn application in the world at the time. And we went the company was public, and then I went to go work for President Obama. And I served as his first director of small business to turn the economy around. I came here to Detroit, was the first thing he asked me to do. I came kicking and screaming, like, wow, I don't want to go to Detroit because I heard all this bad stuff. And when I got off the airplane, I fell in love and was like, this is going to be home. And so I made it on purpose, life decision to make Detroit my home. And I've been trying to do that since the day I stepped off the airplane in 2011 to host a conference here at Kobo. And my ultimate goal now is to reach all the way through the community, down to the grade school level, teach very capable, smart people, high tech, high science, and bring in new industries.
So, back to your building, the Icon building, which is a beautiful building. Ironic thing I was telling you earlier is I had the privilege to see President Obama speak once, and it was in that building, which was pretty cool. And now you're going to be in that building with a whole lot of people making a difference. So let's talk about that difference, because you are very committed to not just the people you have, but the neighborhoods and the communities of Detroit and where you operate. And that's important to you from a core standpoint. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, we don't have enough time to talk about all of that.
We have 12 minutes.
But what I will say is, and it's a great question, really, and it's near and dear to my heart. It's what I care about most, is the young people and the old people making that connection of teaching somebody something new, and working with people and meeting them where they are to do something very special. It's an interdisciplinary approach to making things work in society. When you talk high tech, most people just think of a technology, but really it comes down to people. And Detroit's ripe for that. And so the plans that we have are pretty significant. Every single year I'm bringing in numerous interns. Right now we manage about 20 internships per year. I'm going to grow that. I'm going to grow that around science. I'm going to do 20 in science, 20 in technology, so software-related kind of things. I'm going to do another 10 around sports and sports-related industries, and really grow that fabric. And people who know me, or if you don't know me, I have a love for lacrosse. And one of the things I want to do here, I used to be the owner of a professional lacrosse team, the Atlanta Blaze, and I was also the first chairman of Major League Lacrosse. And my ultimate goal is to bring a professional team back here, reinstall lacrosse here, get it into Detroit public schools, help fund those programs, teach kids how to do well outside of school, and then we're going to teach kids in Detroit how to dominate while they're in school. And then Echelon will cement itself as a member of the Detroit versus everybody.
Well, I want to talk about a couple of those other divisions and your passions, but before we do that, talk specifically about the skills that people are going to need for this evolving economy, because so many jobs are digitally based now. Why is it so important? And I think there's a misconception that, well, that's a tech job, I can't do that job. That's not true, is it?
No, that's not true at all. And in fact, when you look at the industrial commons, it has eroded since 1984. And it's being rebuilt now, and I think it's being rebuilt in a smart way. Look, many of the policies that have, and legislation that passed recently will enable for a new economy to arise. Michigan is being a leader there. What you've just done around your data center legislation will help with that tremendously. It's an attractant to companies who want to leverage software and software systems. We all do. There are over 60 billion connected devices across the globe, and they're becoming more interconnected by the day. And so Detroit being a destination to supply computing power to the average consumer will be transformative. And part of my goal here will be to help deliver that and make that possible. And so upskilling and reskilling people is what Echelon does, right? So the kind of folks we have to grow organically anyway. There's very few people that walk off the street, the unicorns that I want to hire to do the kind of projects we have. I'm looking for a software programmer who has experience in hypersonics. I'm looking for a real rocket engineer, but also have experience with program management, something very simple, right? So we bring this interdisciplinary groups and skills together anyway. So being able to have a program that we launch from the Icon where we're training people in the city and upskilling them and bringing them in for the next generation of jobs to help birth that new economy is exactly what Echelon relishes, that opportunity. And quite frankly, we talk about the new economy age and everyone, machine learning and AI and generative AI, and those things are very important and will be part of the future. But as you said, fintech, biotechnology is going to be great. And you can watch the ebbs and flows between hardware and software, where hardware gets great and software slows down. And then software gets great and it outpaces the hardware. And we're at that phase now where there's a refocus, if you're deeply into tech, you refocus on hardware and component systems and new materials to make those things possible, faster and lighter, have great thermal properties and things like that. So Echelon will bring that to bear, and we look forward to doing that. We're going to teach a lot of people how to do those things. And you don't have to have a master's degree. You can be off the streets with some common sense, and I guarantee you can be a player in the AI space.
But you did mention to me that it's not just the hard skills, it's the soft skills that you really want to make sure you invest in the people you upskill and reskill, right?
Absolutely. It's
the working on the farm skills.
Yes.
Okay.
Character building skills.
Character building skills.
Yes.
That's great. So let's talk about a couple other divisions and things of interest to you, and broadcasting and this network you have and working with the schools here. And we've already made some connections with regards to that. The Chamber runs the Detroit Promise with the city, and that'll be a great connection point. But talk to us about this broadcasting division or network and what you can bring there.
Yeah, it was actually a passion project. When I left being an owner of Major League Lacrosse, I wanted to own the distribution. I realized how important it was as an owner of a team to have distribution and be able to get content out. So I bought a small sports network from the guys who helped start ESPN 40 years ago. During COVID, the height of COVID, I listened to Allison Camerata on CNN say, I'm not a sports fan, but I realized how important it is to our fabric of our country because no one was playing any sports. And the idea was born. I have to go start a sports network. And then I realized how expensive it was, so I went and bought one that was already started. So, and we're a multi-sports network of live sports that is all of the sports that ESPN don't have, kind of thing. And we're the home of professional basketball. I have professional basketball from all around the globe on all the time, and professional baseball and other sports, and lacrosse. And so we do well. You know, we're on Fios and DirecTV and all these other platforms. And it's really a good tool because I'm teaching kids how to be great graphic designers now and using AI tools to do it. I'm bringing kids in and teaching them how to be on-air talent, behind-the-camera talent, writing scripts. And so it's something that will be headquartered here in Detroit. We broadcast throughout the globe, and we do really well in Eastern Europe and Asia. And so I look forward to continue to grow our U.S. presence and do a lot more here. But it's a great opportunity here in the city to take our machine learning and technology and embed it into an old industry, which is kind of how it all started. I wanted to take an old dinosaur and modernize it and bring it into the 21st century even. And so we were one of the first companies to broadcast live sports analytics into a game. And so we showed it was possible, and then we never really made a business out of it. We wanted to have a project to see if we could do it.
Good. And then taking that another step, sports itself and youth sports and connecting with the community and using that as a platform and a channel is important to you. And we were talking, I was telling you about PAL and Police Athletic League, which you heard about, and I've seen Mr. Hunter walking around here today, so we got to make sure you meet him. But that's another channel for not just the company, but getting people tied into the past that they can do, and that's important to you too.
Absolutely. The more community involvement we have, the better for us. That's how we learn. In fact, quite frankly, that's how the community actually benefits. It's an old adage of, when the tide rises, all boats rise. And really, the community pouring into us is how that tide rises. It's not the other way around. It's not us just pouring into the community. It really happens the other way around. And as a byproduct, we pour back, And so it's going to be fantastic to work with the local, organizations. And I was just talking to the coach at Cass Tech about getting some of the best products in their hand, because that part of our sports business, we are all in on America. So we brought all of the equipment in from China and Pakistan and putting it in the Icon, and we're going to be manufacturing all our lacrosse goods and apparel out of the Icon. And in fact, there's 5 truckloads of stuff in there right now, and we're selling that stuff. But I'm going to give it to Cass Tech. I'm going to put the best equipment in hand. They got the strongest, lightest stick in the world. And in fact, the stick that we just used at the PLL, which is the Professional Lacrosse League, the stick that was used for the fastest shot was an Epic stick, our stick. And so we make the best sticks and heads, the strongest sticks in the world. They're DOD grade sticks. I'll use DOD this time for you. So those kind of things will be part of the community. I want to be as popular as Better Made chips, but I make lacrosse sticks. And
man, when do you sleep? We've covered a lot of ground here in 20 minutes. That's fantastic. And we were talking backstage. I said, do you have an NBA team? Because he's not from here. And he said, I do. But my team now is the Detroit Pistons. That's what you said.
That's right.
That'll make Arn happy.
That's right. That's right.
So we're wrapping up here. Last thing, let's come full circle to what brought you here. And there were a lot of organizations and people, and I know Mayor Duggan himself and the governor and a lot of people. You felt like there was collaboration and welcoming, like, we want you here, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. I will tell you, so we could have stayed where we were, or we could have pretty much gone anywhere in the country we wanted. And we did. We put an RFP out, and we looked at several states that made the final list. And some of them have very warm weather, I'll be honest. So I have to really love Detroit. Because I took on a lot of my advisors who wanted to go to the warm weather states or tax-free states. They had all kind of analysis for me. I threw all of it out. We're in Detroit. We're in Michigan. This is home. And in that process, it was a no-brainer. When I removed all those outside things that other businesses see as very important and said those are necessary but not important, and I put people first, then Detroit was home. It was a hands-down winner. And I'm excited about that. I can't talk enough about that. And I get warm feelings now just thinking about going through that process and saying, wow, at the end of the day, when all the dust settled and when everyone counted Michigan out and said how hard it was to do business in Michigan and how many impediments were out there and all the things that could be wrong. They didn't come from my internal crew, so y'all gotta be nice to Echelon people when you see them walking around. They came from the outside. But when it all settled, it was a no-brainer. This was home, and I've been to Mackinac, so I gotta thank everyone who put on this conference and that conference. When I went to Mackinac and saw the amount of people wanting to work together, coming from Washington, D.C. and walking into that, said, I know this is home now.
Good. That's great. That's great. Well, I told you. Yeah, thanks. I suggested when we first sat down that you were going to hear more about this company and this man, and I'm pretty convinced of that. And so welcome to Detroit. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you.